In connection with the word Easter, the concept of an Easter sunrise service is also labeled as pagan by detractors. They point to Ezekiel 8:14-17, which describes individuals with their faces toward the east, worshipping the sun.
Then he brought me to the entrance of the north gate of the house of the Lord, and I saw women sitting there, mourning the god Tammuz. He said to me, "Do you see this, son of man? You will see things that are even more detestable than this." He then brought me into the inner court of the house of the Lord, and there at the entrance to the temple between the portico and the altar were about 25 men. With their backs toward the temple of the Lord and their faces toward the east, they were bowing down to the sun in the east. He said to me, "Have you seen this, son of man? Is it a trivial matter for the people of Judah to do the detestable things they are doing here? Must they also fill the land with violence and continually arouse my anger? Look at them putting the branch to their nose."
This practice in Ezekiel is called idolatry, and is an abomination in God's sight. Easter is said to be a replica of this vain worship in ancient Israel. However, in Ezekiel the individuals were forsaking the worship of the true God, as is evidenced by them turning their backs on the temple of the Lord in verse 16. They were purposely worshipping the sun. When Christians attend an Easter sunrise service, they worship God and Christ, remembering and rehearsing the meaning of Jesus' resurrection. The rising of the sun reminds them that Jesus is the dawn of our salvation, and that he rose early Sunday morning. Did pagans worship the sun? Yes, they worshipped many things, including stars, the moon, many animals, and even the earth itself. Devout Christians see this, and sometimes confuse ancient forms with modern substance. They point to the association of some modern traditions with ancient religious celebrations, and shout pagan. They think, once pagan, always pagan. While they may admit the transforming power of Christ for people, they act as if Christ cannot transform days, customs and traditions. Yet many of the practices God approved for ancient Israel had previously existed in paganism. Sacrifices, prayers, temples, priests, harvest festivals, music in worship, circumcision and tithing all had ancient pagan counterparts. God can transform days and customs for his use. The fact that Christians use some of the same methods as pagans does not mean that we worship the same gods. The annual festivals or holy days God gave Israel, as part of the Old Covenant, were based on the cycle of the moon. The Festival of Trumpets came on the new moon of the 7th month. Israelites even had a new moon celebration with the blowing of trumpets.
"Sound the ram's horn at the new moon, and when the moon is full, on the day of our festival."
Yet, the moon was regularly worshipped as a god or goddess in nearby cultures. That is where we get our name for Monday. It was the day of the moon's worship. Even though pagans worshipped the moon god on the day of the new moon, the Israelites could worship the true God on the same day. Just because pagans did something does not automatically mean that God's people cannot do it. God transformed many pagan customs into a form of worship devoted to him. Even the sun, worshipped as a god by many pagan cultures, God used to symbolize an aspect of Jesus' glory. Luke called him the rising sun.
"Because of the tender mercy of our God, by which the rising sun will come to us from heaven."
Jesus is also called the bright morning star in Revelation chapter 22 verse 16.
"I, Jesus, have sent my angel to give you this testimony for the churches. I am the root and the offspring of David, and the bright morning star."
God can use symbols misappropriated by pagans and transform them for his own use, making them acceptable for worship. The point is that even if there once was a pagan Easter festival, and even if the word had some pagan significance, it does not matter. No one takes the phrase Easter sunrise service to mean a pagan rite, or thinks that he or she is worshipping the sun. All the names of the days of the week have a pagan significance, on which different deities were worshipped. Sunday was the day of the sun, Monday was the moon's day, Tuesday was Tea's day, Wednesday was Woden's day, Thursday was Thor's day and Friday was Frigga's day. the latter for all Norse deities. But we do not worship pagan gods when we say or use these names for our days. We do not think of worshipping old gods when a new day comes. That is the way it is with the word Easter. Whether or not it had a pagan connection in the past does not matter. We do not think of it in these terms anymore. The word does not mean that anymore. The same applies to worship services on Easter Sunday morning or during Resurrection Sunday. If there were pagan resurrection celebrations to various gods on Sunday, it does not matter. God's people can use those days to worship Christ, and they are not stuck in some time warp that turns them into unwitting idol worshippers. The words and the days have no power of their own. They do not change adoration of God into secret veneration of an idol. In modern times, on Easter Sunday, Christians worship Christ. That is what is important. Christians who keep Easter are not pagans. They do not worship nor regard pagan gods. They honor Christ as Lord and Savior. Unless we are to conclude that celebrating Christ's resurrection is in itself a detestable thing, its celebration on what was once a pagan holiday is irrelevant.